Good girl. Good girl. Let's find you a cup. Sitter today. Jill is kind of, stepping into Melissa's old spot, and she wants to be helpful.
I will explain the gossip. Never miss this video. Please subscribe to the channel. From the moment Jill Verts walked into the ALDC with her daughter Kendall in tow, it was clear she was on a mission. Forget fitting in. Forget making friends. Jill didn't come to play. She came to win, and she didn't care who got burned along the way. Her singular goal? Get Kendall a solo. Every single week. It wasn't even subtle. Jill came in swinging, heels clicking, designer bags on her arm, and a glittering ambition shining through her eyes. And while Kendall had undeniable talent, Jill knew talent wasn't enough at the ALDC. You needed strategy. You needed timing. And in Jill's case, you needed drama. Jill's early strategy was all about making herself indispensable to Abby, to the moms, and to the team. She'd cozy up to Abby one minute and throw a mom under the bus the next. All roads led to one destination, Kendall getting a solo, no matter how many egos Jill crushed along the way. If you're a real Dance Moms fan, you know about the wig incident. Season 2. It's burned into history. Kendall had been relegated to a group number, and Jill was not having it. So what did she do? She pulled Kendall from the ALDC, dressed her in an actual wig, and took her across town to audition for Kathy's Candy Apples. Jill disguised Kendall like she was on the run from the FBI, as if Abby wouldn't recognize her own former student. Chaos. Pure chaos. It was an iconic betrayal, and Abby did not forget it. Neither did the moms. It backfired, of course, but it's a perfect example of Jill's mindset. She'd literally switch teams and hide it if it meant Kendall would have a chance to shine. And let's talk about Jill's gifts to Abby. Furs. Custom ALDC jackets. Boxes of baked goods. Whatever it took to bribe her way into Abby's good graces. It wasn't subtle, but it was always so Jill. Her approach to Dance Mama and G was basically Real Housewives meets toddlers and tiaras. Bold, theatrical, and laced with passive aggression. Behind all the drama and glitter, Kendall often got caught in the crossfire. While Jill fought tooth and nail, Kendall was left bouncing between group numbers, occasional duets, and the rare solo moment. And when she did get a solo, the pressure was astronomical. One of the most heartbreaking scenes came when Kendall, voice trembling, asked, "Why don't I ever get a solo?" The frustration was raw. It wasn't just about stage time, it was about feeling wanted, and Kendall often felt like a pawn in Abby's bigger game. Of course, Jill took this frustration as fuel. She stormed into pyramid meetings with rehearsed speeches, demanded justification for Kendall's placement, and picked fights with Abby in front of the other moms. She'd frame it all as being an advocate, but there was always a little more ego than empathy in her tone. Kendall wanted to dance. Jill wanted Kendall to win. Jill's obsession with solos wasn't just about quantity. It was about beating someone. And more often than not, that someone was Maddie's Ziegler. Whether she admitted it or not, Jill hated the favoritism Maddie received. She wasn't alone. Plenty of moms complained about the Ziegler preferential treatment. But Jill's anger simmered hotter than most. She didn't just want Kendall to dance, she wanted her to be Maddie at her own game. In one unforgettable moment, Jill questioned why Maddie always got lyrical solos. Kendall was given character pieces. How is she supposed to prove she's just as good when they're never given the same material? She asked. Valid point, wrong delivery. It led to a spectacular blow-up with Abby, who shut her down instantly. Still, Jill pushed. She begged for fair chances, insisted Kendall could pull off the same choreography, and ranted in a mom mode about the Maddie issue. And when Kendall did get lyrical, you could feel the tension in her. Jill was ready to declare war. Of course, the effort eventually paid off. Kendall got solos, and when she nailed them, the vindication on Jill's face was priceless. There was girl in the mirror, a haunting emotional solo. Kendall was a her lines were sharp, her timing flawless, and the judges knew it. Jill was in the audience, screaming down her face, a rare moment where her pride was full about Kendall's. But there were also moments when the pressure grabbed her. She forgot choreography, She lived for the applause, not just Kendall's, but her own. The approval of Abby, the moms, the fans. Jill's tactics didn't win her any fans in the moment. Melissa and Christy Mullins, they all had opinions, and they weren't shy about it. When Jill pushed for Kendall to replace another girl's solo, the claws came out. She was accused of being manipulative, two-faced, and only here for Kendall's opinion. And let's be honest, they weren't wrong. In one explosive argument, Jill lashed out at Holly for always playing the mic and accused Christy of living in the past. The tension was thick. Producers probably needed a machine to cut. But Jill thrived in that chaos. She wasn't afraid of a little more. If someone's kid got a solo, she had something to say. If someone questioned her motives, she doubled down. The feuds were legendary, the raids grew, and the mom loft became less of a viewing area and more of a battle zone, thanks to Jill's solo warpath. Let's not pretend Abby was innocent in all this. Her solo assignments were often based less on talent and more on narrative. Who did she want to feature this week? Who needed to be humbled? Who was trending on social media? Jill knew how to play the game, but Abby changed the rules weekly. One week Kendall would be praised for her improvement. The next she'd be benched for not being a Maddie. It was maddening to watch, even as a viewer. And when Jill called it out, Abby would either dismiss her with a scathing insult or dig deeper, punishing Kendall for Jill's behavior. It was a vicious cycle. Jill pushed too hard, Abby retaliated. Kendall suffered, Jill pushed harder. Even when Kendall won, Abby rarely gave her the flowers she deserved. There was always a backhanded compliment, always a reminder that she wasn't the favorite. And Jill's rage? Oh, it was palpable. Despite all the chaos, Kendall had one of the most compelling growth arcs on the show. From the timid newcomer who fumbled choreography to a confident soloist who demanded stage presence, her evolution was undeniable. Solos like Welcome to My Life and Burn showcased a more emotional, mature side. Her technique sharpened, her confidence soared, and by season 5 and 6, she was often the one to beat. The irony? By the time Kendall finally earned solos consistently, Jill had chilled out, slightly. Maybe she saw that her daughter didn't need pushing anymore. Or maybe, after years of battling, she was just tired. Either way, their dynamic softened, and the focus shifted more to Kendall's talent than Jill's tactics. Kendall became a quiet force on the team, reliable, expressive, and emotionally resonant. And while she never reached Maddie-level favoritism, she carved out a legacy all her own. So what was Jill really? A fame-hungry stage mom? A solo-obsessed diva? Or a fiercely determined mother who believed in her daughter more than anyone else? Honestly, she was all of the above. Love her or hate her, Jill was a core part of the ALDC's drama machine. She gave us iconic one-liners, unforgettable fashion choices, and more pyramid meltdowns than we could count. She brought chaos, but she also brought commitment to her daughter, to the team, and to the show. Without Jill's relentless solo campaigns, we wouldn't have half the drama that made Dance Moms Dance Moms. And Kendall? She may not have been the most naturally gifted, but she became one of the most resilient, thanks, in part, to her mom's maddening persistence. When Jill Verts made her grand entrance into the ALDC, she did not tiptoe in. She burst through the doors with the poise of a woman on a mission. Unlike many of the other moms who seemed to cautiously feel their way through Abby Lee Miller's unpredictable moods, Jill had a plan from the start: get Kendall a solo and climb the ladder of Dance Moms royalty. Jill's debut wasn't about blending in. It was about standing out. She arrived with a polished appearance, luxury handbags, and a relentless determination to make Kendall the next breakout star. Within weeks, Jill had made it very clear that she wasn't going to sit back and watch while other dancers, most notably Maddie Ziegler, got all the opportunities. The first hint of Jill's ruthlessness came when she noticed Kendall being cast to the sidelines. Other girls got solos week after week, and Jill began pushing harder, often cornering Abby and confronting her head-on. It wasn't just about Kendall getting a chance. It was about Jill proving her daughter deserved the same spotlight as Abby's favorites. Let's talk about the wig. Possibly the most dramatic move Jill ever pulled, and that's saying something. Frustrated by Abby's treatment and Kendall's lack of solos, Jill decided to leave the ALDC mid-season and defect to rival Kathy Nesbitt-Stein's studio, the Candy Apples. But instead of exiting quietly, she dressed Kendall in a wig to disguise her so she could sneak into Kathy's team unnoticed. Yes, really. It was messy. It was theatrical. It was peak Jill. The moms were horrified. Abby was livid. And while Jill defended it as a smart career move for Kendall, fans couldn't stop talking about the sheer audacity. The disguise, the betrayal, the dramatic reveal when Abby recognized Kendall on stage. It was reality's TV gold. Jill would later return to the ALDC, claiming it was the best place for Kendall. But the damage had been done. Abby never forgot the betrayal, and the other moms never truly trusted Jill again. From that moment on, every solo Kendall got was eyed with suspicion. Through all the drama, it was easy to forget that Kendall was a genuinely talented dancer. She had beautiful lines, emotional expression, and a work ethic that could rival any ALDC girl. But with Abby's hierarchy clearly favoring Maddie, then later Kalani and Bryn, Kendall often had to prove herself twice as hard. Jill's strategy? Keep demanding solos. She argued, negotiated, and sometimes downright begged. And every time Kendall got passed over, Jill spiraled. Her frustrations often erupted in the mom loft or spilled into pyramid sessions. Jill's insistence that Kendall deserved solos wasn't entirely off base. When given the chance, Kendall consistently delivered strong performances. Solos like Welcome to My Life, Burn, and All Eyes on Me showed that Kendall had grown into a technical and emotive performer. But it was always a battle, for Jill and for Kendall. The ALDC mom loft was no stranger to tension, but Jill's obsession with solos made her a magnet for conflict. From Christy Lacasiak to Holly Frazier, everyone had a moment where they clashed with Jill over her antics. Jill's dynamic with Melissa, Maddie's mom, was particularly spicy. She constantly accused Melissa of brown-nosing Abby, though let's be real, Jill brought Abby more gifts than anyone else. At one point, she gave Abby a fur coat. Subtle. She frequently accused Abby of playing favorites, and she wasn't wrong. But her delivery often alienated her from the group. Holly once accused her of throwing other kids under the bus to boost Kendall's chances. Christy called her fake. Even Kira, Kalani's mom, wasn't immune to Jill's side-eye. Despite the constant drama, Jill seemed to thrive in conflict. And even when she was temporarily iced out, she always clawed her way back. Her bond with Kendall kept her coming back for more. Abby wasn't just assigning solos based on talent. She used them as tools of manipulation. One week, Jill would be praised and Kendall would get a solo. The next, she'd be punished for stepping out of line. This on-again, off-again relationship meant Jill was constantly walking on eggshells, desperate to stay in Abby's good graces but never quite succeeding. In some cases, Abby would dangle solos as bait. She'd tease that Kendall might get a routine, then pull it last minute. The emotional whiplash wasn't just exhausting to watch, it visibly affected Kendall. There were moments when Kendall broke down in tears, frustrated by how often she was benched despite working hard. Jill would comfort her, but the emotional toll was real. And the fans saw it. Solo highlights: Kendall's growth through performance. 1,000 words. Despite the chaos, Kendall's solo moments became some of the most memorable performances of the show. Her lyrical pieces showcased vulnerability. Her jazz solos oozed sass. And when she took on acro or contemporary, she showed versatility. A few standout solos. A Welcome to My Life, a lyrical masterpiece that allowed Kendall to show real emotion. Judges and fans alike praised her maturity. All Eyes on Me, a flashy jazz number that screamed confidence. Kendall owned the stage. Burn, possibly her most powerful routine, Kendall's performance reflected the years of struggle she endured for solo time. Each time she hit the stage, fans saw more than just a talented dancer. They saw growth, determination, heart. The bigger picture: Jill's drive, Kendall's resilience. 1,000 words. Jill's relentless campaigning for solos often put her at odds with the team. But beneath the surface, there was a genuine desire to see her daughter succeed. Jill believed in Kendall, fiercely. And in her eyes, fighting for solos was fighting for her daughter's future. Over time, Kendall developed more than just technique. She built resilience. The constant back and forth with Abby, the pressure of living up to expectations, the knowledge that her solo spot was never guaranteed, it toughened her up. By seasons 5 and 6, Kendall was no longer the girl crying in the dressing room. She was a confident soloist who commanded the stage and proved she belonged. Legacy moments. Jill and Kendall's impact on Dance Moms, 1,000 words.